think it was Scott Frank's Walk Among the Tombstones.
Which I just watched last night.
I think that's
so crazy.
I think that's what got me my SAG card was.
So,
I need to check. I don't know.
So you already had a SAG award for the ensemble of Downton Abbey.
Oh,
Before you got a SAG card?
is that possible? I don't
It's
know.
totally possible.
I need to go back and look. Yeah, that is possible. I guess. Yeah, we did. I guess we did win that before that movie. But yeah.
That's
yeah.
amazing. So in all.
In a biopic of Hildegard Knef, and her second husband was an Englishman who spoke German, and so I had sort of, I guess my name was sort of echoing around the corridors of the German film industry, and they were looking for, well, Maria Schreider was looking for an actor who was not German but could get their head and their mouth around this very complex German that this android would have to speak. So I think they were considering all nationalities, and then they heard that I could speak German, so they quickly changed the script to British and sent it off to me and to see if I liked it. But it could easily have been Brazilian or anything, I guess. But I was very happy that they settled on British. There's so many things. I think it's so rare to read something that feels so funny and also yet so philosophical and profound. Like it had sort of the sweet, silly thing that I love, and also something very, very very important to say, I think, about humanity and about love and all these things. And I also saw tremendous potential for physical comedy. It just struck me as such a funny idea to try and do this. And also speaking German at the same time, it was sort of a hat on a hat on a hat of challenges. And I was like, this is gonna be fun.
Wait, are you wearing a robot in honor of the character?
I am.
I just realized that. Look at that, you themed your outfit. I love it. So what were sort of your initial conversations with Maria like? She's an actor.
We had an amazing chat, and I think what she really wanted was the assurance that I would be able to deliver that dialogue at the speed that Tom would need to speak it. I thought it was a test of my German, and so we had this whole interview in German and over Zoom. It was mid-pandemic. I think it was sort of April and May of 2020. And so I was terrified that she was analysing my grammar and was I using the subjunctive correctly and things like that. And actually, she just wanted to know that I could that I could speak it and speak it fast. So I assured her that I could. Then hung up and thought, oh God, I better go and improve my German pretty quickly. Sort of graded with Maria was kind of over the course of it how much of the robot and how much of the human we wanted to see. We wanted to see an evolution. And that's really the key, that he's an android who wants to become more human. So he's not in a fixed state. And so we wanted a sort of a starting point, and we liked the idea that he'd been pre-programmed with, the 20 greatest chat-up lines of all time, and also that he had this, I don't know whether it was a coincidence that Maren Eggert has a certain kind of Katharine Hepburn quality to her, but we liked the idea that he also had this sort of scruple comedy back catalogue going on, and so we looked specifically at a lot of Cary Grant and Jimmy Stewart movies and just sort of borrowed certain mannerisms from certain scenes of Philadelphia Story, and just thought, wouldn't it be funny if Tom just did that movement in this scene for no reason, but just that he had it in his sort of memory bank, that this is how humans behave. We borrowed Cary Grant's hair color, for example, for Tom, and so in terms of the look, I very much gave myself over to Maria and the costume designer and the makeup designer, and just sort of said, well, what do you think this guy should look like? I didn't want to come with my preconceived notion of my perfect man. I wanted it to be their ideal creation. So there was an interesting collaboration there. But insofar as the physical preparation, it was really about just borrowing human characteristics and kind of breaking them down and distorting them and putting them in odd places and odd timings and things like that.
In her direction, would she ever?
We did. We had a little time together, and it was shot under very strict protocols. And in fact, this was one of the first films that Berlin allowed to be shot under COVID. And so we were all incredibly lucky, and it was a very kind of safe bubble. And we did have a little time to get to know each other, sort of pre-production. But as I say, it was an interesting dance in kind of learning what their specific rhythm was going to be. And I think once we found that, we were off to the races. But there were definitely a few days where we thought, this is kind of weird. This didn't feel like the normal flow of a scene. But I think that's what gives it its sort of unique